Hey now, and how are you doing? Want to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. I can't wait to you guys to meet my friend Michelle, and we might get a little Zentangled. I really can't wait to hear about that and her incredible podcast, Hypothetically Intentional, which is really, I've been a guest on it. And how are you doing this morning, Michelle?
I'm doing great and I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know we had a talk, and we've had several talks, and I can't
Yeah,
wait for future talks. So, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
a little bit about myself. My name is Michelle Aalbers. I own a wellness studio in Osseo, Minnesota, and I started in Thai massage and I have evolved into so much more, but it doesn't feel all that different to me. But in the now, I am someone who helps people or guides people or mentors people to choose themselves, to trust themselves, to find themselves, like connecting
Mm.
people with that inner wisdom, their authentic self, so that they can show up in the world with more ease, which doesn't start feeling that way. It's
Yeah,
it's a messy process, but it's a beautiful one. And the transformation and evolution of that is just, I found it to be magical and awe-inspiring. And I love that I'm still in awe and wonder with my life and my world and the people that come into it and the people that I get so blessed to meet, like you. Our conversations have been amazing. I know there will be many more. They tend to be deep dives, and I love that.
that's the craziest part, and it's really funny that you said, or amusing, that once you start diving into yourself and you can become your most authentic self, it doesn't feel well. It's scary, right? Because you
Yeah.
might not be doing the things that society, whatever that means, society tells us to do, how to do it, but it becomes the right way we do it. And then we find people like yourself. Like, the more authentic I am, and people like, you're really the same person off of social media as you are on. And I'm like, sorry, but that's who I am. Because then I don't have to remember. I don't have to be like, oh, I'm on. Yeah, I could be a little bit more louder, like when the beginning of my podcast, like, hey, no. But I'm also the
Yeah.
guy who wants to support people. I know who I am, and I knew what the supports I needed. How did you get into this? I'm sure you didn't wake up one morning. You probably did wake up one morning saying things were not going well. I need to change something.
Yeah, I think it was a fluke on something. I say that it's not true. I don't believe in flukes or coincidence. I believe I was divinely guided and things were plopped in front of me to assist me on my journey. I feel like the beginning, first 30-ish, 40 years of my life, they were challenging and I was depleted all the time. And I felt like life was so much harder than it had to be. And that was like a running loop in my head. Why is this so much harder? I feel like it doesn't have to be this hard. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I feel like that was my thing, but I had in my early 30s, I had uncovered some traumas and some things that I didn't know had happened. And that explained a lot of things. I discovered somewhere along my journey that I'm an empath, which explained a lot more things. And then I landed in a Thai massage training thanks to my sister who had taken a class with her husband on Valentine's Day. And that stepping into that community changed my life forever. It changed everything. It made me look within and almost question. I don't know if it was so much questioning who I was and how I showed up. It was more just, I don't know that I ever really considered what I liked or who I was or how I wanted to show up. I was just going through life in motion, but not intentional.
Yeah, that's exactly what similar. We all have had those stories at some point, and unfortunately for like you and I, it happened a little later in life
Yeah.
to get the clarity. And I thought at one point I had the clarity, and now there's like a whole new level of clarity. But what's the difference between Thai massage? I don't know that anybody knows, or I know I don't
Yeah.
know what makes Thai massage different than other massages. Let's just
Thai massage is done fully clothed, usually on a futon on the floor, like a mat on the floor, and it's acupressure points, stretching, joint mobilization. It's like having yoga done to you, but I say that hesitantly because there's something about having a stretch where you can completely relax. And it's definitely a trust practice with the practitioner, right? Because if you don't trust, you won't completely relax. But in a session, you can completely relax. The practitioner can stretch you in new and different ways. And Thai massage kind of gets a bad rap on two different levels. One is a whole sexual thing that is not a thing if you're
well,
an
if you do it
ethical
right, maybe.
practitioner. And then it is a thing that you can
Yeah.
find. It's just not
Right.
here.
That's not part. That's not part of the a normal.
No, it's not part of the
massage
sacred
session. Yeah.
practice. I'll say that. And then the other thing that it gets a bad rap for is people say it hurts. And it's not if you have a good practitioner, not if you have a practitioner practicing in integrity and ethically who has done training and can listen to your body and meet it where it's at every single day. I will say, as a practitioner, and I don't do Thai massage anymore. I've actually moved away from it. I miss it. Sometimes I do it at home with my partner, but that's about it. But it's one of those things where, as a practitioner, I did it for almost 10 years and I would get to know my clients. And I had pockets of time where I thought you just go in and you assume you know their body because it was that way last week or last month. And I
Mm.
learned very quickly. I think a couple times I did it where it was like, oh, their pain in their back isn't actually coming from their inner thigh today. It's actually coming from above, not below. And but when you get to know someone, so it's that really dropping into the present moment and meeting people where they're at today and knowing that it's not always the same. That was a really great lesson for me because it also helps me in my coaching now to remember
Sure.
that like a lot happens between the last time you met them and the time you're meeting them now. And they might appear and show up very differently simply because of the level of stress that they've had in their life or the level of joy that they've had in their life. And
Yep.
our energy can move really quickly.
Sure.
And so that was just a cool lesson. I learned so much.
Yeah, it's always incredible. And as you're talking to me about it, I just had one of the best massages I've ever had in my life. And my guess is she moved me around differently, and I was like, "Huh, wow, things just cracked differently."
Yeah,
But the release, and just thinking about that, I wonder if she used a form of Thai massage because
sure.
she moved my hip differently. I have a challenge with my right hip and just other
Hmm.
things. Where most of my stress lives is in my shoulders. So I'm just like always, if
Mhm.
you can fix my shoulders, I'll be fine. And
That's common.
yeah, those are
Yeah,
right. That's one of the common places we all hold it, but we don't recognize it. And I
right,
now recognize why I need to go to my acupuncturist and all those other type of techniques. And
right. And the cool thing about Thai massage is that like the intention is to like our sun lines, our energy lines in our body, when they're flowing freely, our body is more capable of naturally healing itself. When you have those tension blocks, it's like your energy isn't flowing as it should be, so to speak, and that just makes it harder to heal.
yep, no, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's a lot of it is let's not fight that resistance. Take down the resistance on what we're doing. I know that I use this almost every episode. The things we know but not apply, and the things we
Mhm.
know are not really the things we know. When you dive down into it, how do you get through blockages or dams when you're working with a client?
Yeah, it's funny because as I was saying that about Thai massage and how it moves the energy, I'm like, I'm still moving energy, right? We put our issues in our tissues. We take our emotions and they start farther out from our body and they move inward. The longer it takes us to address them, the deeper in they'll go, so to speak. So it's like we can have a conversation and have some awareness and not avoidance and drop into our heart space, not our head space. We can get out of that fear and worry and anxiety and these patterns. Like for me, I grew up that way. I grew up in fear and worry and
Yep.
catastrophizing. And I thought if I plan for the worst, then I'll be prepared. And it's like all that did was deplete and drain all my energy.
Yeah,
What if I just trust myself to handle whatever comes my way?
and that's one of the things I've looked at so much. My mom and my grandparents. When I dive into my own, there was so much fear in what could
Mhm.
happen that you almost don't live fully present. And like, okay,
Yeah.
when it happens, it doesn't matter. And when it happens, it generally isn't the way you figured it out anyway. So
Well, exactly. And I think that if we think about energetically, for me, I just had brick after brick, like these walls up to guard and protect myself because I didn't feel safe in the world, that my own doing, right? And my environment at times, certain things that happen that caused me to believe certain things. But
sure,
putting those walls up and keeping those up is exhausting. And
cool,
nobody really gets to see you. And that's such a sad thing for me. It's like now that because one of the most beautiful things is to watch someone take those walls down in a safe and sacred space,
sure,
get vulnerable, become aware, and show themselves some love and grace that they maybe haven't found yet in their life. And then to watch them unfold and reveal and remember who they are is like magical. And
yeah.
it's really moving energy.
That's all it is, just moving energy, moving the way we thought we were seeing things,
Yeah.
and really finding the healing because of the
Mhm.
way we see things. So
Yeah.
the walls we were built, and most of those walls were put up out of love. It was out of protection. That's why sometimes it's okay to let our kids get scraped knees or even
Mm.
ourselves, because
Sure.
while those intentions generally were good, and not everybody's intentions were good, but most people's intentions were good. How do you move through those challenges? And that's where the power becomes, is knowing that I got hurt and what did it do for me versus to me.
Yeah, it's like creating that space. Like sometimes I see it as these little energy balls, like almost like little black,
Mm.
cloudy,
Yep.
and they obscure our vision, right? They put mess in our way. And to be able to like hold that, thank it, appreciate it, and then toss it, return it to wherever it belongs for the best and highest good, because it's not mine anymore. It's not here to make me heavier than I need to be energetically. I don't need to collect all these things. Sometimes I think we walk around like a magnet and we're just collecting all the stuff that isn't ours, that helps us avoid what is ours. And I just over time I just learned that we are so good at avoiding the things that terrify us. And when we
Well, yeah,
have support, when we have people who we can lean into and who can guide us and give us tools and resources for us to hold space for ourselves and learn how to show grace and love to ourselves, it really is, it's like an unlock. It's like this key. It's like a code to the padlock of just
yeah.
unlocking you and
Well,
allowing that to reveal.
yeah, I think that's what Rumi said. You hold the key to unlock all your possibilities,
Yeah.
or something like close to that.
Healing is so beautiful and magical and messy, but the healing itself is empowering. It's like I just see like this bright light. It's like the healing itself really, it gives you a newfound confidence. It gives you
Sure.
like space that you get to fill with you instead of the things like the protective like mechanisms that, and I'm not saying protection isn't good. I'm just saying like the ones that you're putting in that aren't actually useful to you are hindering your growth and your transformation and making your life so much harder than it has to be. And I think that's just really what I've come to. I'm tired of life being as harder than it has to be. Like I know it's going to be hard.
For sure, yeah. And those protections, again, they were put in place to protect you. But sometimes we need to go out there and learn for ourselves and find other solutions. That's the
Yeah.
other part. As a parent, it's so hard to let your kids go. But lately, that's one of the shifts I've done, is I'm like, they tell me something and there's no judgments. And that
Mhm.
I've got really good at. At times, I'm still going to be a parent. I'm going to be like, I wouldn't agree with that. This is what I think, but you guys do what you want.
Yeah.
And then be there to support them, always be there to support them. But we need that ourselves. So I know that for myself. When I put something out there, I'm like, it scares me a little bit. Last night was my second comedy show that I participated. I guess
That's exciting.
yeah. So it was just one of those things. I was like, it feels so uncomfortable, but I like being there. And the feedback I get from many people in the audience was really incredible, because some of them had seen me my first time and then this time, and they're like, wow, not only were these jokes better, you were great last time, and you keep going. And how do you go? Where I'm going with this is, how do you grow? So, like, you're at a level now. You're not at the
Mhm.
final level, right? I'm not at
Oh,
my final
never.
level. How would you suggest to people when they're at the level they're at, what to do to get to that next level?
Think the first step is always pause. Just give yourself a minute to look. If we don't have an awareness, how can we make a choice that's mindful and intentional and that might lead us somewhere we want to go? And if you never take a pause to consider what you might want or what you might need, I think it's hard for people to ask for what they need
Yeah.
because we don't take the time to know. I'm definitely in that space. It's hard for me to know. If you give me too many choices, it's wait, hang on, I don't know. I never considered what I wanted. I tucked into boxes of what I thought people wanted me to be for so much of my life that for me to drop in and just blanketly say, I want this out of all of these choices, I'm better with A or B. Do you want A or B? I can give you a quick yes or a quick no on that. So simplify. Sometimes, do I want or need food or water? It
Yeah.
can be as simple as just basic life things. And then I don't know, I just think to pause and look and listen. And the other thing I think really is important is to find your people, whether it be a community, whether it be a best friend, whether it be find someone that you know. A couple things will show up in love and will call you on your bull stuff. Can I swear on here? I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Will
yeah,
call
yeah,
you on your
yeah,
BS.
yeah. You can, yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
So it's like, if you can find someone who can show up in love and call you on your bullshit and hold space for you,
Yeah,
that is a magical combination. Because
that
we
is
lie
that.
to ourselves
Well,
when we
and that's the
heal.
power that I've noticed for myself. There's times that people will come back and push back at me, and I feel the old Dave, and I'm like, okay, what are they really saying? Are they saying something that's really true? And who is saying it? So I don't listen to everybody, but
Yeah.
I do listen to the people that I really, really trust, and that's the powerful part is knowing who really is in your tribe, not just because they're
Hmm.
in your boat, because there are people in your boat who are drilling holes in the other side of the boat, or they just want the ride. They don't want
Yeah.
to, they're not rowing with you. That's a powerful part because now when I go, somebody's really telling me, and was it last night or the other day, somebody was telling me something that they thought was going to be really difficult. And I said, I'm hearing you. I go, and
Yeah.
they're like, I don't mean it bad. I go, no, I'm hearing you. I want to improve. It's something within myself. It's about the things I'm doing, the things that from our vision, we only can see as far as we know. It's when we can see
Yeah.
other visions and being able to see and talk and have those open conversations. That's where the power of growth goes into it.
Yeah. And I think the healing journey, I think it's important to remember that no matter where you're at, no matter how hard it seems in any given moment, know it's temporary. And the quickest way out is knowing your people. Like being willing to ask for help and also being willing to look within yourself. I think I spent a lot of time just running away from myself. I didn't just
Well,
avoidance of I don't want to be in this pain, so I'm going to go find something to distract myself. I'm going to be busy. And
uh,
it just prolongs the agony.
for sure, because when we dive into the things that we're scared of, it much like when you're cleaning your house. It's I don't want to go clean the house. But once you
Yeah.
do, when you start feeling better, but then also so much more can happen. And I again had this conversation recently. They're like, right now I'm okay. I don't need Dave your mindset stuff. I'm like, no, you do. This is the time to do it
Yeah.
because if you don't clean the house now, when somebody walks in the door unexpectedly, then you don't have to worry about it. And
Yeah.
the same thing in our lives is if we bring the healing and the journey, the understanding within ourselves before it happens, that's where that's why for me the pandemic was great. I did a lot of deep diving on what I saw, how I felt, why I saw it, why I felt it. Still, I needed other pieces of input, but it definitely helped me see things in a way that I didn't know that I was going. I didn't know the blinders that I had.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. When you're on the journey, find someone who's done it, or maybe not done it because I don't think it ever ends, but who's just even a couple steps ahead of you that can hold the space. My goal, because I had a lot of pain and stuckness. Like I was stuck in the suck for a really long time, and it took me over 13 years. I'm 13 years into my deep dive journey. Before that, I was probably another 10. So I'm good over 2 decades
Yeah.
of doing this internal work. It's like my goal is to make it not have it shouldn't take you 2 decades. Shouldn't, but it probably won't take you 2 decades if you have support and people who have tools and resources that can guide you on it. It's like my clients are doing things so much faster than I did. And that's an amazing thing. It's look at that. You weren't stuck in the suck for 20 years. You were
Yeah.
stuck in the suck for much shorter period of time.
You find the right people, the right guides, and also heal yourself. I know it with my business
Yeah,
journey,
that's it.
how many, because I wasn't secure in where I was or even my vision. I followed a lot of shiny objects and went
Yeah.
down rabbit holes that we didn't do. And that's the same thing in our healing journeys, finding the right people. Now, one of the
Yeah. And
journeys, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, I think such a huge, powerful piece of this, and I'm going to bring it into Zentangle because you mentioned it
That's
at the
where I was
beginning,
going. Okay.
is intention. Like the power of intention is incredible. And when intention comes from that soul space, like that heart
Mm,
space, versus
mm.
like just this sort of meh, it was my intention, but I'm not really going to do it. And I know that. Like I'm talking about like a dropped in soul
Yep.
connected intention that changes everything. And
Yep.
all of the living traditions that I've studied, whether it be Thai massage, Reiki's, and Tangle, they all start with gratitude, appreciation, and intention. And it's just that's the magical trio And so with Zentangle, you set an intention, have gratitude and appreciation. I'm always like, I am grateful that I'm taking this time for myself. And my intention is to just drop in and be present. When I'm in tangling, Zentangle is like the method and tangling is the verb. When I'm tangling, I lose myself and I'm busy with my hands and I'm not
Mhm.
thinking, I'm only thinking about the next stroke. But what that does is it creates space in my mind. I get intuitive downloads like crazy when I'm tangling. And I get out of, if I have pain in my body, it takes me out of the pain in my body too. So it's been like this crazy, amazing journey. I didn't think I was creative. I didn't think I was an artist. And I end up drawing these amazing art pieces that I never even thought I could do.
Yeah.
And I love, they don't give you an eraser. They say every mistake, quote unquote mistake, is just an opportunity for a different outcome. So it helped me relinquish control. It helped me surrender. It helped me learn non-attachment. And I was just like, this is like a magical practice that has changed my life on a level I never would have expected. I'm like, it's just drawing. It's whatever, it's doodling. And it's no, it is absolutely not that. It is so different.
And it sounds like something, it's like anything else you do. If you put intentions to it, it has a meaning. And you might not know that
Yeah.
meaning. And then that's the opportunity to dive into that meaning.
And that
Yeah,
intention is energy.
for sure. One of the exercises I like doing sometimes with a group is I get these small packets of Legos. And I
Oh,
want
cool.
everybody to just create something that says leadership. And everybody in a
Mm.
room then does it differently. And I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
because we all have that vision and none of them are wrong. Now,
No.
some people are more creative than others, and but it's nice to see. And I want everybody to tell those stories because when we see our mess or what we draw, like I'm not a great artist in the drawing sense. It looks like I'm a 6 year old. It's great,
Yeah.
but I'll still show you because then you might be able to see it as an artist or more defined in what you do. But if you put me behind a camera, I'm fine. That's where my
Yeah.
safety zone is. And where I'm going with this is how do you talk to a client when they have that belief about themselves that they're not I'm not for Dave. Dave's not a great artist in the drawing sense, only in the drawing sense.
Yeah. So with the Zentangle method, it's funny because at the end we put all our tiles on a table and look at them, and everybody got the exact same instructions, and yet they're all different. It's like our uniqueness comes down onto that paper. And as with relation to the Zentangle method, I would just say it's about the process, not the outcome.
Mm.
We're building skills here. We're building muscles. And if you've never done this before, then you haven't discovered that muscle yet. So give yourself some grace, give it a go, and have fun in the process. The outcome for this particular case doesn't matter. And you might actually really surprise yourself with how much of you comes down onto that page and you realize that you have more skills than you've been giving your credit for. And I
For
find
sure.
that to be true most of the time for everyone. We tell ourselves we're not good at something, and it's only because it's outside of our comfort zone. It makes us uncomfortable and it's not, we haven't developed that skill yet. And so we tell ourselves we're less than. It's no, you're not less than. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. It's what makes the world amazing and beautiful. We can find and play off of each other's strengths and quote unquote weaknesses. It's I've built this skill over the last 20 years. You've built that skill over the last 20 years. Let's combine them and dance and see how can that support and lift us both? It's such an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I think we expect to drop in and be an expert. That perfectionism takes over.
Well, that's it. The things that I've done with photography and people like, oh, I could never do that. I'm like, yeah, but it's just easy for me because I've done it for so many years. Whereas for you, drawing would be so easy. And I have to say, just even having this conversation, I think I'm going to push myself, much like the comedy night that I pushed myself to be a comedian. I think I'm going to try to go into a class and not worry that I'm going to be in the class and be at the level I'm at where other people have more talent. I'm going to do that. That's a
That's
challenge.
amazing. I love it.
Thank
That's
you. Yeah,
beautiful.
I'm gonna write it down. That's the only
Write
way
it down.
I'll remember it.
Yeah. And I think that's an important piece too. I think even just simply building the experience of doing things that scare you a little or make you uncomfortable. I'm talking safe things here. I'm not talking go crazy and go do something that is actually unsafe, but there's a lot of things that can make us uncomfortable. And if we never try them, where's the growth?
That
And that is a
and that's
muscle
what
you can
and
build.
that's what I was hearing from you. And I'm like, Dave, you keep saying because I've said this to other artists also. Oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, no, you can. obviously not today at the level that you might be at, but that's okay. Our journey is different. And I'm sure that I do things
Yeah.
that you don't do, can't do because you haven't experienced it. So I'm going to challenge myself
I
to.
love it. And if Zentangle is the thing, I actually have, I'm going to be doing a new thing. I haven't decided when it's going to start yet, but I'm going to do some free, just little tiles like this, a little bijou. They're little, like, so it fits in the palm of
Mhm.
my hand. And it's just one tangle on the tile. And I'm going to walk you through it step by step. And we're going to play and have fun. And
That's one of those things that I definitely will talk offline about it.
yeah.
Want to do some more things because that's one of the things I am doing this year, taking things to the next level. Probably around the
Mm.
time that this podcast comes out, that I'll be already starting or have already started the classes once a month with my Lone Wolf Squadron with a bunch of people that we're gathering and love to be part of that. It,
Oh,
it
that's
really
beautiful.
is one of those things that we should challenge ourselves. We should bring on. I don't know all the answers. And
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I'm proud to say I don't know all the answers. I want to learn. I would love you to educate. I would love people to educate.
Yeah.
So Zentangle, I'd love to hear. So, what really is Zentangle? Could you explain to us a little bit more?
Yeah, so it's a meditative drawing, and how it came to be is Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. Maria Thomas was a calligrapher and a botanical artist, and she was in her studio and she had drawn a letter and she was filling in the inside. And Rick came in to ask her a question, and she was gone. She didn't even hear him. She was totally in her own little world. And he's, "What were you doing?" And she described her state and all the things she was doing. And he was like, "You just described meditation. Like there might be something to this." And so it's literally, if you can draw an eye, like a line with a dot, a C shape, a orb shape, like a circle-ish shape, and an S shape, you can tangle because every tangle has those simple steps to create the tangle. And you divide a tile into smaller sections to make it not such a big piece of space to feel intimidating. And you do it step by step. You're guided through the whole thing and you get done and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I just created this beautiful tile." It's non-representational. You don't have to be an artist. When you shade, if you choose to, you don't have to worry about where the light source is. It is like the easiest, most simple way
Mm.
to create some of the most complex. And I am not an artist. If you tell me to draw a thing, I'm like, "Yeah, no, I can't. It's going to look like a preschooler drew it. It's not my jam." But you drop me into a Zentangle where I can look step by step how to draw this thing and create a tile. It's amazing. I'm like, "Holy crap, that turned out really cool."
Oh,
And I volunteer every month with Hope Kids and I teach them their families with children with life-threatening illnesses. And so just to give them some calm and some, my heart rate drops when I do it. I
sure.
breathe better. I get relaxed. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's that intention and then the focus.
Yeah,
That's where we don't
that's
realize
it.
it, because when you're doing it, you're really just focusing on that. Whereas
Yeah, one thing at
that's
a
why
time.
when I talk to people about meditation, oh, I can't do that. The thing is, you're attaching yourself to those thoughts. But when you're only focusing on something differently, that becomes that Zen moment.
Yeah. And if whatever style of meditation you're doing isn't for you, then don't do that style of meditation. Untangle is meditation. It's active meditation on some level. There's
Uh,
many ways to meditate.
So how is this different than like a Mandela?
Ooh, mandala,
Oh,
I think I don't even know if that's how you say it.
yeah, I
I
don't
just think it's a
know.
different sacred practice. I feel like mandala is just a different sacred practice. I've seen some incredible, just intricate mandalas, and Tangle can be that way too. I could see the two crossing over and blending, but I feel like mandala is a whole different spiritual sacred practice with geometric, maybe even geometric patterns. I don't know. I've never studied mandala, but I think there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And I think with intention, and I'm pretty sure that is another like living tradition spiritual practice, or it can be. I don't think it has to be.
Yeah, because now all these comic books, not comic books, but the
Oh, like
coloring
coloring
books,
books?
yeah, the
Yeah.
coloring books are so popular. But I guess with Zentangle, you're creating your own model versus having somebody say, "Hey,
Yeah.
you want to do flowers," and different ways to go about to the same source. And that's
Yes.
really what's beautiful is it's all going back into that universal source that heals ourselves.
Yeah, and if I'm thinking about like how they started the practice too, they were very intentional. They like the paper that they use is cotton, like
Yeah.
from Italy. The pens that they use are meant to slurp into the paper. The pencil, because the paper has some grit to it, you can work the graphite into the paper. Like they made it as easy and beautiful as possible. So you have all the tools that will support you on this journey so that you will be successful. It's like they set you up for success. And I think that isn't that such a beautiful, like it's every journey. If you want to move into healing, say you're doing inner child work, how is that going to look if you just flounder on your own, or if you have someone who can guide you with tools and resources? And like even in my choose yourself stuff, I have a licensed doctorate level psychologist that comes in and teaches us how our mind might work and what might support us as we
Mm.
have a healing crisis or dig into inner child and shadow work stuff. I think having as many tools and resources to set yourself up for success to support you on your journey, no matter what you're doing, whether you're building the new Zentangle muscle or you're building the new, I'm going to love up my inner child muscle, or I'm going to heal my broken heart muscle, or whatever your thing is, get my mind so that it's not so messy and mean all the time. Like I had a very messy and mean mind. I was very
Mm.
mean to
So, so,
myself.
so did I.
I beat myself up all the time and I was not nice. I'm like, gosh, you would never say that to another human. Why are you talking to yourself this way? But it was all I knew how to do. I didn't have a lot of self-love or self-esteem. I certainly didn't
Yeah.
have confidence or self-worth. And it's like now it's like I understand the difference between self-love and self-worth and self-confidence. And I have them all. And they all probably came through figuring out how to trust myself. I never gave myself that opportunity before.
Yeah, no,
Such a beautiful
and
thing.
that's right, and that's part of that growth piece. That's part of that taking that to the next level to do that.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned several ways of that healing need, right? Our inner child and things like that. Does Entangle work with each one of those differently? But how does mm,
No, go ahead. How does
yeah,
what were you going to
no,
say?
how does that happen? Yeah,
I certainly think with intention, it could definitely, because like how it works for me, and everybody's different. So I don't want to like claim this as a blanket thing, but like for me, when I'm tangling, if I start with an intention that I am struggling with something or I'm trying to get to uncover something within me that I've noticed a pattern that's keeping me stuck and I just want to figure out where it's coming from. If I set the intention and ask my spirit guides to give me some answers, some guidance, if I'm looking for some guidance, I do often get like aha moments when I'm drawing. But I think part of that is just because I'm pausing to create space. And then when you add the layer of intention and trust and spirituality, divine guidance, gosh, that you kind of hard to go wrong. At least for me. I'm not claiming everybody has to have the
right.
same spiritual practice as
Everybody,
I
right.
do.
Everybody goes at it differently and has
Yeah.
had different experiences. But it's always good to know
I think
that
sometimes,
finding, and that's really what I try to do with this podcast is having people on who can give other resources. That's my goal,
yeah.
is like Zentangle or talking to Michelle with any of the other things. Now, you said Minnesota. Are you near St. Paul, Minneapolis area?
Yep. I'm in
Okay,
a
good.
suburb of Minneapolis. Yeah.
Okay, that's another conversation, but first
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm just
Yeah.
always amazed every day when the universe aligns all the things that I thought were crazy to do, that then is no, here you go.
Right.
Here's a
Oh,
nice gift if you want to take it or have those opportunities. And wow.
I think that's the thing. I think if you don't pause to set some intention and ask, like, have you ever asked yourself what you need? Like for me, I
Yeah.
didn't ask myself what I needed. I didn't even consider what I needed. I just was going through the motions and making things hard.
Yeah, no, and we all do that. That's why it's amazing on social media. Sometimes I'll put in a writing because that's how I move my creative. Like when I'm feeling good, I wasn't feeling good this past weekend. It was just heavy. There was some things things are going great. My life, if you look at it, my life is wonderful. But that being said, there's some days that the tide goes the other way and it doesn't feel good. And what do you do with those intentions at that moment? And I was like, I wrote. So people were like, oh, I'm sorry you had a loss. I was like, I didn't say anything, but he died. I just said the person wasn't with me anymore. I didn't
Mhm.
say it was a lesson I learned. I wish I had learned earlier. There's so many different ways how everybody else's intentions. And I always find it funny when you do share some of your thoughts, all you need is one other person to come in with a different thought, and then there's a whole stream of consciousness that people are like, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss." And then I had one friend who called me up who goes, "Who died?" I go, "I didn't write died." I go, "What are you talking about?" It was beautiful because having people who care that much for you, they're called because they saw what I wrote, and I was like, "No, it just was Sunday was a bad day for me. It was just a
Yeah.
it was a yucky day, but I was able to move through the energy. And by the time I went to sleep, I still went to sleep with my gratitudes. I still went to sleep with the things that I know. Even when I was feeling it, I knew it. It wasn't for Dave. It wasn't the way that I used to feel it. So acknowledging it, accepting it, and moving through it is so much better. Moving our energy, as we were talking about earlier, is always so much more powerful.
Yeah, I got an intuitive download when you were talking about that. Do you mind if I share it with
I
you?
would love you. Thank you.
And I think it'll help the listeners too, because it took me somewhere that kind of connects a bunch of things. You were talking about how you write to move energy. And I
Mhm.
literally saw, remember how I talked about those energy balls?
Yep.
How the kind of black balls that are
Yep.
just like
Yeah.
filled and
Yeah. Yeah.
heavy and dense. I literally saw them like coming through the pen onto the paper. And that's a really powerful way for you to move energy.
Yep.
And so, and you know that already, but just keep doing that and add the intention of however you visualize it. But like, of knowing that it's not just about feeling better. You're legit clearing energy that you've collected as that magnet over
Right.
time to get rid of that heaviness. And it brings me to the point because the other download I got is look, when we clear energy or feel like stuck and in the suck, we have this tendency to think it's supposed to look a certain way when we release it. They said I'm supposed to ground. I don't know how to do that. They said I'm supposed to meditate. I don't know how to do that. They said I'm supposed to do A, B, or C. It's not about what they say you're supposed to do. The idea is you set the intention to move that energy your way, make it
Yeah.
your practice, and then it's so powerful. I'm also a writer, but I'm a write it and burn it. And when it's the
I,
burning
I do,
process
I
that
do
like
that
makes it
at
go
times
away.
also,
It's
100%.
so it's and I
Uh,
have the goosebumps like
yeah.
crazy. It's whatever makes you feel lighter, start noticing that because those are your practices that help you get rid of this energetic clutter that's not yours anymore. That's
Yeah.
been
The,
processed
the,
and ready to be released. So let it go your way. It's
Yeah,
so good.
don't own all the negative. While it could feel that way, and we're not going to have green lights for the rest of our life, but own it.
Nah.
And what do you do with it? Because
And
what's funny
sometimes you got to look at it.
when you mentioned about the balls, I have an exercise that I use. It's an old NLP. Is put all your junk in the ball. Whatever
Mhm.
ball you want, spin it like a basketball, throw it out to the universe, and then watch it come back and pull it into your heart. Because the universe cleans out the pain. If we
Mhm.
yell, scream, we move our energy differently, it becomes cleaner. And that's what we want brought back into ourselves. And it works tremendously. That's why when you said about the blackness in the balls, I was like, that was the exercise that I saw.
Yeah.
It was funny that you mentioned intuitively about that specific one, because that was one of the ones when you were talking about it, I was like down my chills. I was like, oh, I didn't do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I didn't do that Sunday, but I did my writing, and through it, other people got to see and how they experienced it. And I got
Mhm.
to interact with people, which was exactly what I needed, just to share my feelings. Really, it was for me, but then also helped other people who felt the same way.
Yeah, I think witnessing other people on their journey teaches us and inspires us and empowers us a lot. We just got to pay attention.
Well, I think that's the biggest trick for all of us, is this, that intentional, what we're doing, being present, intentional,
Yeah.
and respectful of everybody's energy, but also of ourselves, being respectful of
Yeah.
what I need and why do you need it, understanding
And
those questions.
yes, and it's okay to have boundaries within that. Like we get to say no
Yeah.
and we get to say yes.
Sure.
And the only way we know which answer is the right one for us is to tap into our soul space, our heart space, whatever your words are. But like for me, it's like I connect to my soul, I listen, and I feel it viscerally in my body. My
Yeah.
yeses are open and spacious, and my no's are like my heart closes off, and I just go inward and get really clenched up. And I know what that feels like, and I'm grateful I've built that practice. It helps me navigate life. And I know that it's going to be hard sometimes, often, and that looking at this stuff isn't always easy, but it takes you somewhere that is more, it brings in more ease. It's like the process of growth and transformation is a challenging one. The other side of it is just it brings ease. And every time you exercise that muscle, then the next thing that comes in, you have developed skills, you have developed muscles to use to navigate it in a new and different way that has more inner wisdom, that has more love and patience. And that is magical.
For sure. Speaking about magical, I know we're going to wrap up soon. Could you step
Yeah.
into our magical garden? And you've given us so much to think about.
Mm.
Plant one more seed that we might grow in the future.
Gosh, I just keep hearing let it go, which is such a frustrating phrase for people when I literally, I'm in the garden and I'm seeing these fireflies or dragonflies. I don't know. I feel like it's all, and it's almost like they're in, think if you're a visual person, like those, like in that magical garden, they can help you like ingest those energy balls that aren't yours anymore. And they transform them. They actually, get nourished by those things, right? I don't know. I just feel like consider letting go something in your energy that isn't serving you anymore.
I'm,
And
I'm just writing down because it's funny. I was just having a conversation with my daughters about fireflies. I don't know what it is this year. I'm seeing many more fireflies in my
oh, that's
backyard,
beautiful.
and it's really, I love it. It makes me feel so happy when I'm walking the dog and I just see the little firefly. And I'm like, I didn't notice them. That they probably were there, or this year is just more fireflies, which is great. And it's that intention. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I almost feel like the like our clutter that isn't ours anymore like gives them their
Yeah.
light. It's because it's not ours, it's theirs.
Yeah, but I'm a big Phoenix rise out of the fire,
Mhm.
and that's why I had to write it down because I won't remember it, even though I say I will.
Yeah.
I'm going to put together, because of this conversation, a poem
Oh,
about
beautiful.
the fireflies, how they'll take our intentions and they'll burn it away.
That's just
It's
it.
about what you started the podcast with, about surrendering.
Yeah,
Surrendering is such a powerful thing. And I know I got stuck on it. And there's times I still am stuck on certain pieces of
me too.
surrender. We all are, but I
Yeah.
didn't know. One of my mentors had once said, surrender is the easiest thing to do. I go, no, it's not.
Mm.
He goes, sure it is. You just surrender. I go, how do you do that? Surrender. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's easy if you're not in control
yeah,
mode, but so
yeah,
many of us I needed to control my environment as much as I possibly could to feel safe. I had to keep all my controlled protections up.
sure.
And I'm not saying I grew up in an unsafe environment. I don't mean that. I mean, like me internally, I was not safe.
Well,
I
but
was
right.
messy. I was,
It's how we internalize it. Even if it was a different, like I grew up in a loud environment, so that
Mhm.
became what I knew and what I felt safe in, even though I really wasn't, I didn't feel safe. Like
Yeah.
looking at it now, diving into my inner child and things like
Mm.
that. But the real power is now surrendering or looking at those again from a different way, seeing it differently, seeing it out of a filter of love. When I talk about the love filter, I enjoy diving into it and trying to see the love, the message, the better message in it than that it was out of fear from the people who are imposing it on me, not a dominance type of way.
Yeah. And coming back to the magical garden, if you're a few steps into your journey, go ahead and practice the letting go, just see how that feels for you. And if you're at the very beginning, simply pause. Just pause and look. Even if it's for a split second, pause, look, and ask yourself what you might need in any given moment. That is such a beautiful form of self love. And I think we don't even acknowledge that.
Yep,
Pause and ask yourself what you need. That's so loving.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know
Oh,
we'll have you back because you and I can get into these really deep conversations, and I look forward to doing that either on your podcast, my podcast, or any of the live events that we're going to attend.
yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. I really enjoy our conversations and I appreciate you inviting me to be your guest here on your podcast today.
Okay, thank you. And for everybody else, as always, just have some peace and love in your life. Bring it in, make that intention, and when you make the intentions to bring a bat, swing for your sweet spot. Just know your boundaries and knock it out of the park. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thank you.
There we go.
Beautiful.